Going on, you guys? So today I'm bringing you guys a brand new sports cards video. In today's video, I will be showing you guys 10 cards that I believe are the absolute best investments that you guys should be making before the NBA season starts. As you guys know, in less than a month, we have the start of the NBA season. In just under 20 days, we have the start of preseason, which is when we really start to see prices go up in a typical year. So that's what I'm expecting this season. There's definitely a lot of cards, I believe, that are great buys to get in before then, because obviously when preseason starts, you know, the hype starts to kind of gather back up. People start to sell football and buy into basketball, and that causes prices to go up. So I have a list of 10 cards. I've done a lot of research that I think these 10 are the absolute best investments for next season. But before we get into that, I do want to say, as you guys know, I have my Sports Card Invest membership program where I basically show you guys every single week 10 cards I believe will go up, some cards I believe will go down, and then 3 long-term underground NBA investments. Now, just last week, I was recommending all my Sports Card Invest members to buy these Deandra Eaton Optic Holo PSA 9s for under $115, because as you guys know, Optic Holo PSA 9s are typically the price of a base PSA 10. Yet, you know, Deandra Eaton's base PSA 10 was around $100 and it jumped up to $200, yet his Optic Holo had not adjusted yet. So we bought all of these for $115. Currently, we see them selling on Facebook groups for roughly $200 to $225. So we've nearly doubled our money in just a span of a week on this investment. If you guys would like to join in on the profit, go ahead and click the link down below to sportscardsinvest.com. Use code YouTube to get you 10% off. If you would like to join in and make a lot of money during these holidays and absolutely capitalize off of the market, it's very hot right now, and if you want to make the absolute most profit you can, you know, our team does a lot of research. We find these low-hanging fruit that, you know, have yet to go up, and we go ahead and buy them, and they certainly go up. So if you guys would like to join in, click the link down below to sportscardsinvest.com. Use code YouTube for 10% off. Without further ado, we're going to hop right into this video. So the first guy we have that I believe you guys should be stacking up on is Brandon Clarke. You know, Brandon Clarke is a guy who does not get too much attention. But, you know, obviously with Jaren Jackson Jr. out in Memphis, you know, Brandon Clarke has a lot of room to shine. He had a great season last year. It was his rookie season. Obviously, there's not much you can really expect from rookies, but Brandon Clarke showed up, especially when Memphis needed him the most. As soon as Jaren Jackson went down with his injury, you know, Brandon Clarke's production went up a lot. He was getting a lot more minutes, playing very well. You know, he had some few big games out there, so I think next season, you know, obviously Ja Morant is developing quite fast as well. You know, Ja and Brandon Clarke, in my opinion, can be a dynamic duo in the future. I'm not sure exactly where Jaren Jackson Jr. will fit in, but he can also play on the floor with Brandon Clarke at the same time. So it's definitely, you know, I think these two guys are very good investments right now. I know Jaren Jackson's a little bit down since he's been injured, but I think for the most part, Brandon Clarke is the safer bet just because he didn't tear his meniscus like Jaren Jackson did. And, you know, in my opinion, they're both, you know, very solid players, both quite good shooters, which is definitely something I look for nowadays in the NBA. You need to be able to shoot if you're a big man, and Brandon Clarke and Jaren Jackson have that in them. So I definitely think, you know, one of them, if not both of them, are going to be a big part of Memphis Grizzlies' future. So I definitely think that's a player I want to be stacking up on before the season starts. Next up, we do have Anthony Davis. I know this is a little bit more expensive for some of you guys, but I did definitely want to include it just because, you know, it's quite crazy how low Anthony Davis's prices are, coming off of, you know, obviously a championship. He played very well, hit that big game winner, yet his PSA 10 sitting at around $1,500. You know, this is first year Prism once again. If we're looking at guys like Luka Doncic, you know, Luka Doncic, his base Prism is, you know, I don't know, it's probably has around 10 times the amount of Anthony Davis's. So the pop report is around 10x, and it goes for more than Anthony Davis. You know, I really do not get this. I feel like Anthony Davis has a super bright future, probably going to continue to be the best big man in the league for at least the next few years. As you guys know, the Lakers are championship favorites yet again. You know, I think it's just a matter of time before this card spikes back up again. We recently saw it happen just last week with Kawhi Leonard's 2012 Prism. You know, his 2012 Prism is on the rise. It's back up to, you know, nearly 3,000 right now. So, you know, obviously, I hope to see the same from Anthony Davis. There's no reason Kawhi should be 3,000. And, Anthony Davis should be stuck at 1,500. So, I just think Anthony Davis is probably one of the best value buys in the league right now. Someone coming off of a championship, they're favorited to win again. Had a nearly MVP season last year. I just think 1,500 and a PSA 10 is a super good deal right now. I believe it will bounce back up to 2,500 to 3,000 in the next coming weeks. So definitely something to look after. Next up, we do have John Collins. I've talked a lot about this guy, but, as we know, the Hawks have been stacking up. They've got a lot of quite good talent coming in. They've got Rajon Rondo. They now have an offer sheet of Bojan Bogdanovic, who's a very good scorer. I just think the future of the Hawks is, all in Trae Young and John Collins' hands at the end of the day. These guys will only help develop them, but at the rate, Trae Young is improving, at the rate John Collins is improving, I think they will soon have breakout seasons. Trae had a breakout season last year. I think Collins will soon too. He's a good shooter for a big. He reminds me a little bit of Kristaps Porzingis alongside Luka Doncic. And I think they will be a dynamic duo in the future. So I think John Collins, now would be the time to get into his cards. Who knows what will happen this season, but I'm sure John Collins will have a great season if he stays healthy. So just definitely something I would like to invest in. We also have Deandra Eaton. Obviously I've mentioned Deandra Eaton a lot, but with Chris Paul at the point guard spot, how he makes all of his teammates better. Chris Paul is, a Hall of Fame point guard, one of the most complete point guards in NBA history. He does it all. He feeds his big man, which is definitely something I look for. Last year he was feeding Steven Adams. He made him look a lot better than Steven Adams actually is, and I think he will really elevate Deandra Eaton's game to the next level. Deandra Eaton's already a 20-10 player, which is very good for how young he is still. Obviously he was the #1 pick. He had high expectations, but I believe he will one day meet those expectations, and Chris Paul is the perfect guy I want there in Phoenix for that to happen. So be on the watch out for the Suns next year. I definitely think Deandra Eaton is a great buy. Next up, we do have PJ Washington. PJ Washington is some guy who goes under a lot of guys' radars. But his basketball IQ for a rookie last year, just kind of impressed me a lot. And that's one of the first things I really look at in a young player. I think PJ Washington has what it needs to, obviously take that next step in his game. So I really think next year I will really be looking out for PJ Washington. The Hornets just got in LaMelo Ball, Gordon Hayward. Obviously they have Terry Rozier, they have Devontae Graham. They've got a lot of talent at the guard positions, but down low, PJ Washington is probably their best bet. So I really think he will be a big part of the team next year. He will get a lot of minutes because obviously when you have such a young team, a lot of guards, he's one of the only big men who's, can actually play, to be honest. So I really think PJ Washington will have a big season next year. The Hornets will get more attention than they've ever gotten because now they have LaMelo Ball and Gordon Hayward. So I really think, with the Hornets' attention next season, PJ Washington has the opportunity to shine. So I think his cards are just dirt cheap right now, and it's a great time to get into his cards. But without further ado, we're going to hop right into the next guy. I bet you guys did not see this coming. Paul George and his first-year Prism cards. So Paul George obviously did not have the playoffs we all thought he would have. Obviously he was dealing with a lot of stuff with the bubble. His mental health wasn't there in the bubble, and he admitted that. I really think, Paul George is some guy I'm willing to give a second chance on. He was a superstar. He had proven himself to be a superstar, and he simply did not show up in the bubble. But I predict next year, will be a redemption season for him. He will have to show everyone, that he can still play, that he still has it in him, and I think he will do so. I believe if I were him, I'd be more motivated than ever. Obviously because of all the doubt people have showed him. So I really think Paul George, superstars bounce back, when tough situations happen. So I definitely think that he will, come back next season, have a good season. The Clippers will, probably be in the mix for a championship next year. I definitely believe that to be the case. So just some guy, I think right now it's a great time to get in on him. I still have a lot of hope for Paul George. But without further ado, we're going to hop right into our next pick, which is Devin Booker, but not his rookie card, because I actually believe his rookie card is a little bit overpriced right now. But his second-year cards are quite undervalued in my opinion, because Devin Booker does not have many, options for investors next season. If they cannot afford a $1,600 rookie card, and they cannot find his selects because his selects are very low pop, I believe they will start to invest in his second-year cards. And these could really pop off. I think Devin Booker's my sleeper pick for MVP next year. Obviously with Chris Paul, in the bubble, the Suns went 8-0. Booker was absolutely killing it. So I think next year Booker will have a huge year, and I just definitely think Booker's a guy who I'm betting on for the next 5 years, that he will be a guy who eventually wins championships. He has everything it takes at the moment. He just did not have the team around him, and Chris Paul is a great first step and Deandra Eaton, obviously, because they will develop together. So I definitely think Devin Booker is a very, very good buy right now, especially his second-year Prisms. But without further ado, we're going to hop right into our next pick, which is Darren Fox. Darren Fox is absolutely, overlooked. He was injured last year for a lot of, the season, but I definitely think every time he's on the court, he's showing us that he can play, that he has a bright future. I'm not sure if Sacramento will be his place long term, but I predict that if De'Aaron Fox stays healthy, this year will be his breakout season. You see this happen with other players right before a breakout season. We saw it before Giannis had a big breakout season in 2018. He was playing very well, but, a little bit hindered, and then all of a sudden a big breakout season. I predict that from De'Aaron Fox. The man played very well in the bubble. Obviously, hopefully Marvin Bagley can be a good, partner alongside him, but regardless, I think De'Aaron Fox has a bright future in this league. Super explosive. Reminds me a lot of a Russell Westbrook who can actually shoot. De'Aaron Fox is a great shooter as well, so I definitely think it's a great time to stack up on De'Aaron Fox right now. We just signed a max contract. So that's definitely something I look forward to. But without further ado, we're going to hop right into our next pick, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Danilo Gallinari, Chris Paul, and Steven Adams all left the Thunder, leaving the Thunder to be solely Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's team. I really think he will have a great season next year in terms of statistics. The Thunder have a great head coach, great organization, lot of draft picks in the future, as you guys know. So I just think Shai Gilgeous-Alexander has an incredibly bright future in Oklahoma City. They're giving the keys to him next year. They're letting him run the team, and we'll see what happens. But I predict some big stats from him. He's going to have a lot more production next year with Chris Paul and Steven Adams and Danilo Gallinari out. So I definitely think, over the next 2-3 years, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is going to be some guy I'm really looking for. I think he will have a big breakout year one of these years. So it's definitely something that I'm investing in right now. But without further ado, we're going to hop right into our last guy, Steph Curry. Not much to introduce about this man. Obviously, 3-time champion, back-to-back MVP, first unanimous MVP, best shooter in history, simply underpriced. Prism is today's, top level, and I think that, a Steph Curry first-year Prism is a card that's incredibly undervalued right now, especially because he does not have, obviously he has this 2009 Topps and Bowman, but he doesn't have many other investable cards. Like LeBron had, 10 different variations of rookie cards. Steph really only has a couple. So I think people will start to look at his 2012 Prism when they look to invest in Steph Curry. So I definitely think next season, with the Warriors out with Clay, I think Steph will have a huge season. Another MVP pick that I think, has a good potential to win MVP next year. I think Steph Curry's 2012 Prisms, super fun to watch, very likable guy. I just think they will really go up in price next season. But thank you guys so much for watching. Once again, if you would like to join the membership program and make a killing with us this winter, go ahead and click the link down below to sportscardsinvest.com. Use code YouTube for 10% off. And other than that, I'm out. Peace.